What? What are you staring at? Do I have something in my teeth?
No, it's just... You're green.
I am.
Okay, but like, you know that there's gotta be at least one dude in this crowd who's like, hey, between you and me, I've actually always kind of been into green girls myself. Anyway, so everyone's being all weird about Elphaba because she's green, and this leads to this lady, like, taking her sister away.
Father insisted.
Oh, the governor made his concern for your sister quite apparent.
Wait.
Please assure him I am honored to help her.
Well, she doesn't need your help.
Stop, I just need to...
She can do it alone. Please, you don't understand. Stop!
Oh yeah, sorry. Also, Elphaba has crazy Stranger Things magic powers that happens when she gets mad. Now, like I said, Nessa Rose is here to go to school and Elphaba is not. However, upon seeing all this, the headmistress of the school kinda sorta takes an interest in Elphaba.
And speaking of the unexpected, which of you would volunteer to share a room?
Oh. Madam Marble,
Thank you, dear. That is very good of you.
what?
And so Elphaba is led into the school and forced to room with Galinda, the girl from before, you know, who's like, wow, you're like green? I feel so bad for you. Which, like, what a thing to just say to someone. Anyway, so Elphaba's feeling really good about all this because this is the first time in her life that someone has finally seen her as her and not just as like a green weirdo.
Something just takes over me, and when it does, bad things happen.
If you can learn to use your powers in the right way. Miss Elphaba.
However, she has to room with Kat from Victorious, and we all know how that's gonna turn out.
I was just gonna close the door.
Oh, well, could you not? I'm sorry, I so enjoy air. You know what I mean?
What? What is happening right now? Why is she being so weird? I will say, Ariana's quite good in this movie. Like, she's really good at the comedy bits, you know, just like being this like really extra character. Whatever she's going for, she's pulling it off pretty well. And so then we get the loathing song where it seems like they're gonna sing about being in love, but then they actually hate each other for reasons. But man, when I tell you that the Sapphic girlies have just run with this number. I've seen Wicked on stage, and I feel like it's pretty obvious that this is just like a love-hate friendship thing. But to be fair, in the movie version, they really lean into like the, you know, they were just really good friends, wink wink, like it's some kind of AO3 fanfic. And also, the author of the book Wicked is gay himself, so maybe they are in love, you know? Anyway, so then it's time for classes at Shiz.
All right, everyone, settle down, ladies and gentlemen, settle down. Quiet, quiet, everyone. Now then, I have read your most recent essays.
Okay, I'm sorry, hold on a gosh darn second here. So they have a goat that teaches history class, but green skin is too much? This is fine, but this is weird?
Now, you may have noticed that I am one of the last animal professors here at Shiz, and it isn't encouraged to discuss this in our classes, but there have been some great changes throughout Oz with the rejection of animal culture.
So this right here is like really the only semblance of a kind of story that this movie has, which is that Oz used to be a place where humans and animals were equal, and animals were like talking and living life and doing things and stuff. But then, somewhat recently, more and more animals are forgetting how to talk, and they're being stripped of their rights and their jobs and everything. But no one's really allowed to like talk about it or deal with it or whatever, for some reason.
There was a time before you were born when life in Oz was different. When one could walk these halls and hear a snow leopard solving an equation, or an antelope explicating a sonnet.
And like this right here kind of highlights my main problem with this movie. So like the musical version of Wicked is a truncated version of the book, with songs taking up most of the book. If you only see Wicked on stage, then the story doesn't really make any sense. Because you know, it's people in one room singing about every emotion they have, and really are just there for the songs anyway, so the story's kind of just whatever. Now this movie version of the adaptation is the musical, which like I said is a Frankenstein version of the book. So somehow, with a 2-hour and 40-minute runtime, it has just as much story as the stage version of Act 1, which is 90 minutes long. Like, it's basically 3 hours of just stuff kind of happening, but it doesn't really feel connected or weighty at all. Like, the characters are not characters, they're just concepts. You know, like later on when Fiero shows up, the new hot man dude guy in school. Okay, my My dude, you are 36. What are you doing here? I'm just trying to relive the good old days, man. So as you can imagine, Galinda falls pretty hard for this guy, or rather, she wants to be with him because it'll make her more popular, but actually, she's secretly in love with Elphaba, obviously. And then Fiyero sings a song about how being smart is dumb, and you should just coast through life on your good looks, man, because caring about stuff is for nerds. Again, not really a character, more of a concept given physical form.
And this is the book place. There's a collection of rare books around here somewhere, and some medium rare as well.
So what do you do for fun around? You ever been to the All-Stars Ballroom?
All-Stars Ballroom? I mean, isn't that place somewhat illegal and scandalous?
You know, I'll tell you right now, okay, this whole like fake word mispronunciation thing that this movie does, it gets really old really fast. Like, it's cute one time and then never again.
Oh, whoa. You all right? Fiyero, take a look. Winky country.
Backwoodsman of Munchkin Land.
Well, shoot, sign me up. Quick, get me those divorce papers. I'm about to give your wife the craziest PTSD of all time. Yeah, so this is Ethan Slater as Buck, who's a munchkin. And he also plays one of his movies. Wow, great. And she's like, ew. However, Fiyero tells everyone to go to Alstel's ballroom, and Buck wants to ask Galinda to go with him.
I hope you'll save a dance for me tonight. I'll be right there, waiting all night.
That's so kind. But you know what would be even kinder?
Maybe I could invite her.
Oh, Vic, really? You would do that for me?
Now, this ends up being very important later, but Nessa Rose being in a wheelchair, you know, she just kind of instantly becomes infatuated with Buck, somehow. So, everyone's getting ready for the big dance club party thing.
What even is that?
Galinda, what's the reason?
I know. It's my granny. She always makes me the most hideous half. I'd give it away, but I don't hate anyone that much.
And so Galinda tells Elphaba to come with them to the party and offers to give her this hat that she thinks is hideous. And between this and Galinda telling Bach to ask out Nessa Rose, Elphaba thinks that these are genuine gestures, and so she tells the headmistress to let Galinda study magic too.
I'm confused.
Miss Elphaba has requested that I include you in our sorcery seminar and insisted that I tell you this very night or she would quit.
Elphaba did?
But then, when Elphaba does show up, she realizes that this was all just a big trick, and Galinda wanted to make her dress all ugly and stuff so people could make fun of her, which, like, I'm sorry, y'all are making fun of the coolest gothed up outfit of all time? Like, you're making fun of this hat when you have hair like this?
I'll say this much. She doesn't give a twig what anyone thinks.
Not to.
Now, Galinda finally sort of kind of realizes that maybe being mean all the time is not cool, kids. You know what's cool? A dog on a skateboard with sunglasses. Nah, I was wrong. Y'all are right, okay? These two were definitely madly in love for sure. And so Galinda and Elphaba are friends, and Galinda helps her to be more popular by singing the song, Popular.
Now that we're friends, I've decided to make you my new...
Be ready to take them down! I'm injured!
When it was the right time for my wife and I to launch our small business, we chose LegalZoom to create our LLC and business license. They made it so easy and made us feel comfortable. There are...
Okay, so like Walden Media, you know what I'm saying? Walden Media was the company that made all those kids movies from the 2000s that we all watched, and then, you know, we're all like, how come they don't make movies like this anymore? Like Holes, Bridge to Terabithia, Mr. Magnorium's Wonder Emporium, How to Eat Fried Worms, the BFG, or even later ones like that Dora the Explorer movie, you know, where Dora's like, oh no, Boots, what are we gonna do? And then Boots is like,
so we moved to LA. My father gets a job at the Palm restaurant. My Uncle Junior works there, who is a Jehovah's Witness. Believe it or not, he went from Catholic to Jehovah.
And of course, the Chronicles of Narnia movies. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe came out in 2005, and it was like a huge hit, okay? I mean, it made almost as much money as Goblet of Fire, which came out the same year, so like, this was a big deal. And yet, somehow, they only ever made 3 of them. Like, 2 were from Disney, 1 was from Fox, which is kind of hilarious, because guess who Disney owns now?
Everybody.
But since we're here in the winter holiday season, I figured, why not go back and check out the Chronicles of Narnia movies? Because the first one, at least, is definitely a Christmas movie, okay? You'll see what I mean. So come along, kids, let's take a walk. But before that, really quick, this video was brought to you by Skillshare. Well, somehow we all made it to the end of 2024. Who knew it was possible? Not me. And looking back, what a heck of a year it was. Just think of how far you've come and everything you've accomplished. I think the videos I made this year are some of the best I've ever done. You know, part of why I even do this whole animation thing instead of just talking to a camera like everybody else does is so that every video I make, I can see myself getting better at something, you know? So when I look back and see like how much better I am at doing all this kind of stuff, I get this huge feeling of accomplishment.
And so can you with Skillshare.
Now, of course, Skillshare has classes about the kind of stuff you'd think they would. You know, like how to animate, how to do motion graphics, but they also have business classes, self-help, productivity classes. There's a lot more here than you might think. So if there's anything you might want help with, like how to take better photos with your iPhone, or maybe you just want to pivot your career into something more fulfilling, or like almost literally anything else you can think of, really. And like, of course you can use Skillshare to level up your career and get into a new industry and all that, but also you could just learn stuff in your free time for fun, you know? Not everything has to be all rise and grind all the time. And like, sure, you can use YouTube and stuff to learn things too, but like, you never know if the info's up to date, or like, is the playlist complete? You finish part 4, then it goes to part 7, and like, what are you supposed to do? So if this sounds interesting to you, guess what? The first 500 people who become Skillshare members using my link will get their first membership month completely free. You literally have nothing to lose. So click my link down below and get creative today. Okay, back to the show. The movie starts out with our 4 main characters, 4 siblings, Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. It's 1940, and Great Britain is doing this thing called Operation Pied Piper, which is where the government designated areas of the countryside as evacuation areas where parents could send their kids. And certain houses in said countryside were told to take in a certain number of kids. This is because Germany was bombing London and a bunch of other major cities, and turns out that's kind of a bummer. So parents sent their kids away like this.
Good man. Susan. Be a big girl.
You know, it's kind of funny how like Harry Potter takes place in the 90s, but somehow everything looks exactly the same as 1940. Like nothing in the UK has changed for 50 years, apparently. So the kids end up way out in the middle of who knows where, in this giant house where they have to stay for who knows how long, with this very chill lady, Mrs. McCready.
Professor Kirk is not accustomed to having children in this house. And as such, there are a few rules. There will be no shouting.
Ah, you mean like you just did right now? It's like when your parents yell at you, you know, and they're like, well, what do you have to say for yourself? But I didn't. Don't talk back to me. Well, explain yourself.
Or running. No improper use of the dumb reader. No! Of historical artifacts. And above all, there should be no disturbing of the professor.
My dude, your voice just echoed through the entire house. And so this is where our 4 main kids are gonna stay for a while. Maybe forever, who knows?
Vascular. Come on, Peter. Gastrovascular.
Was it Latin?
Is it Latin for worst game ever invented?
Shut up, Edmund. Also, like, no, real talk. The worst game ever invented is literally any board game that people pull out at like a house party, you know, and they're like, okay, so this one takes about 4 hours, but the first game's gonna take like 7 because we have to spend 3 hours teaching you how to play it, but like, trust me, it's so much fun, okay? You're gonna love it. And then I'm suddenly very aware of my ever-fleeting mortality. So eventually, all these kids decide to play hide and seek. Peter starts counting and everyone goes all over the house, right? The youngest one, Lucy, finds her way into one spare bedroom with a giant wardrobe in it, and she runs inside to hide. Ah, crap, I dropped my jawbreakers. Lucy goes into the wardrobe, and suddenly she's in this giant forest just covered in asbestos. This wardrobe, of course, as everyone knows, is actually built from an apple tree that grew from an apple core that the professor himself brought back from early Narnia when he was a kid. Anyway, so as Lucy stands there slowly dying from hypothermia, she sees a certain something behind the tree.
Were you hiding from me?
Wait a second, is that James McAvoy? Professor Xavier, quick, there's no time to lose. Magneto's got... Magneto's head is shrunk again. Please, you gotta help. What happened?
No. Well... I didn't want to scare you.
Sorry, I just want to interject here, but like when Tumnus showed up at this part, Kelsey turned to me and she goes, okay, so hear me out. Anyway, so this is Tumnus, a fawn/satyr, and he and Lucy very quickly become great friends, and he invites her over to his little hobbit hole and makes her some tea, and everything's great.
Loved Narnia in summer.
It's that time of year again, when we all know to eat better. For those of you packing on the protein, our menu has over 10 meals that have at least 40 grams of protein. And they're all craveable. Order today at Urban Place.
Give them hell!
Music. Ah. Would you like to hear some now?
Yes, please.
Line up, men! Move out! Line up,
man! Lucy, what happened? This girl went from like 8 to 85 in 4 seconds. Just the youngest little old curmudgeon you've ever seen. This is literally all they want to do every single weekend. Incredible eyebrows, though. I mean, why is this 8-year-old girl getting her eyebrows manicured? Who can say? But they're doing a great job. Anyway, so then Tumnus starts to play his little flute thing. What kind of tea is this, Tumnus? So Lucy falls asleep and wakes up to see Tumnus in the corner being all emo, and she's like, "Sup, my dude?" And he's like, "I'm a bad phone."
Kidnapping you. It was the White Witch. She's the one who makes it always winter, always cold. She gave orders. If any of us are to find human wandering in the woods, we're supposed to turn them with her.
And so, because Tumnus feels bad about what he did, he helps Lucy escape back to the wardrobe, and the White Witch never has to know. Wait, I'm sorry. How high is Peter counting in this game? Like, Lucy comes back from Narnia, and Peter's like, 437, 438. Anyway, so it turns out, even though Lucy's been gone for like half a day or whatever, no time at all has passed in the real world, and everyone's still playing hide and seek.
It's all right. I'm back. I'm all right. Shut up. He's coming.
No, I'm not sure you two have much idea of this game.
Weren't you wondering where I was?
Yeah, you know, this is like when I had my wisdom teeth taken out, and then I was gone from school for like a week, and nobody even noticed? What do you mean I'm not the main character of the universe? Anyway, so as you can probably imagine, no one believes anything Lucy says because she's like 8 and magic is like stupid, okay?
Don't all have your imagination.
But I wasn't imagining.
That's enough, Lucy.
But that night, Lucy sneaks out of her room to go back to Narnia again, and this time Edmund follows her because she's being a little friggin' bratty piece of shit. So he follows her in the wardrobe, and what do you know? He goes to Narnia. Except his experience is a little different from where, like, you know, instead of one of my girlfriend's top 5 hall passes showing up, it's a big old giant whatever this is. Well, if that isn't just the most terrifying thing. But then this lady shows up and things start getting real weird.
What is your name, son of Adam?
Edmund.
You look so
No, Edmund, come on, rule number 1, never let the with dreadlocks. So Edmund sits with her, and she has this like magic thingy neuter that makes anything Edmund would ever want, and for some reason he chooses Turkish Delight, which he just like demolishes. Like, this kid is just pounding that stuff. Anyway, so this lady is the White Witch, who calls herself the Queen of Narnia. Now, in case you haven't read the magician's guide, it turns out this lady is actually an interdimensional demon warlock. Like I'm telling you, man, these books are insane. And for some reason, she's really interested in Edmund and his family.
very much like to meet the rest of your family.
They're nothing special.
If you get the sort of boy I can see one day becoming Prince of Narnia. Of course, you'd have to bring a family.
And so she sends Edmund back to the lamppost where the wardrobe is, and Lucy's also there, and she's like, I had to amputate my fingers because of frostbite, but other than that, this place is pretty cool, right? And then they go back to the real world, and Lucy is just excited to prove to Peter and Susan that Narnia's like totally, definitely real, okay?
I saw Mr. Thomas again, and this time Edmund went too. What were you doing, Edmund? I was just playing along.
Freaking Edmund, I swear to gosh! So later on, the kids are so bored, they decide to play cricket of all things, and Edmund hits the ball right through a window. And of course, they all freak out because Mrs. McCready's totally definitely gonna skin them alive, probably. So they all run to hide somewhere, and Edmund kinda sorta leads them into the wardrobe, and then wham bam, bibbidi bow. what do you know? They're all in Narnia.
Impossible. Don't worry. I'm sure it's just your imagination.
And so yeah, there they all are, just in Narnia. Lucy wants to take them all to Tumnus's house, but when they get there, the place has been demolished, ransacked, and Tumnus is nowhere to be found.
Fawn Tumnus is hereby charged with high treason against Her Imperial Majesty, Jadis, Queen of Narnia, comforting her enemies and fraternizing with humans.
So after this, things are kind of set in motion. The kids meet these beavers who can talk, and they tell them that the White Witch is looking for them, so the beavers take them to their like little house place, and they finally get to kind of know what's going on here.
There's a prophecy. With Adam's flesh and Adam's bone sits at Cair Paravel enthroned. The evil time will be over and done.
You know, that doesn't really rhyme.
No, I know it don't, but you're kind of missing the point.
So basically, there's this prophecy that Narnia will be taken over by the White Witch, and then 2 human boys and 2 human girls will fight her off with the help of some dude named Aslan. And Peter's like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. What do you think, Edmund? It turns out Edmund snuck out in the middle of the story so he could walk all the way to the White Witch's castle, where she keeps all of her essential oils, I assume.
Then how dare you come along? I tried. Edmund, I asked so little of you. They just don't listen to me.
Couldn't even do that.
Oh, I did bring them halfway. They're at the little house at the dam with the beavers.
Frickin' Edmund! Now, the next chunk of the movie is Edmund being locked up in the castle while the other 3 have to escape from the White Witch's various attempts to capture them with just the most incredible CG reindeer you have ever seen. But one time, after escaping yet again, something a little different happens.
Merry Christmas, sir.
Certainly is, Lucy.
Ah, see, told you it was a Christmas movie. So after talking for a bit, Santa Claus reaches into his magic sack and has some special little somethings to help the kids with the upcoming war they have to fight. I mean, the coolest thing I ever got for Christmas when I was a kid was a Jurassic Park VHS tape, but yeah, okay, Santa Claus, whatever you say.
Presents!
The juice of the fireflower.
Yahoo! Thank you, sir.
What? Just giving this 8-year-old a prison shank. And this is for keeping the hose in line in the commissary. And Susan gets a bow with magic guided arrows and a horn that if she blows into it, anytime, anywhere, help will come. Like when she's on a date and the guy's like, yeah, so I'm thinking about starting the podcast.
Peter.
I give unto you a machine gun. Actually, he gives him like a sword and shield or whatever. Lame. Anyway, so then they get chased away yet again by the White Witch's weirdly American wolves.
Be still, stranger, or you'll never move again.
Yeah, okay, dude, you're from like Detroit or something, okay? How'd you get in here? Now, finally, the beavers take them all the way to Aslan's camp, where they're all preparing for battle against the White Witch. And here they finally get to meet Aslan.
We have come to see Aslan.
You know, like, okay, so the CG in this movie is kind of butt, right? But then Aslan looks better than, like, the new Lion King movie coming out. Like, the entire budget for this movie went to Aslan, and then they had 4 nickels left for all the green screens.
But where is the 4th?
That's why we're here, sir. We need your help.
We had a little trouble along the way.
Our brother's been captured by the White Witch.
Yeah, because he was being a little shit. And so, with the help of Aslan and his army, they rescue Edmund from the White Witch's camp, and Aslan gives him a real stern talking to, you know, where he's like, I can't believe you think Ninjago is better than Bionicles. That's just crazy talk, Edmund. Now, soon after this, the White Witch shows up and says that Edmund actually belongs to her, according to Narnia house rules.
You have a traitor in your midst, Aslan?
His offense was not against you.
Have you forgotten the laws upon which Narnia was built?
Do not cite the deep magic to me, witch. I was there when it was written.
Then you'll remember well that
Every treasure belongs to me.
And so they talk for a while, and what we come to find out is that Aslan offered himself up as a replacement for Edmund. And I don't know if you guys noticed this yet, but I think Aslan might be like kind of like Jesus or something, you know what I'm saying? Especially given what happens next.
Wait. Let him first be shaved.
You know, I was talking earlier about these Walden Media Kids movies. This is a PG Kids movie, okay? And like, hello? This is like insanely dark, and this is just like a movie for kids about kids. Just for reference, you know what else is a PG Kids movie? Panda. What do kids even have nowadays? Like Bluey and frickin' Mr. Beast? Oh boy. Anyway, so the White Witch kills Aslan, and Lucy and Susan see the whole thing, which must be just the most traumatizing thing for an 8-year-old, okay? Then they use the trees, whatever that means, to tell everyone about the death of Aslan.
Be still, my princes. I bring grave news from your sisters.
Okay, guys, so hear me out. And then it's finally time for the war between Aslan's army and the White Witch, who just goes like full woo-woo crystal mommy for some reason. You know, good thing she has enough time to do all this before the war starts, okay? You know, like I've always said, if you're trying to take over the world, at least you gotta look like you just got back from a juggalo funeral. But then, just before the war actually starts, guess what happens?
Aslan.
Oh, Lion Jesus is back, everybody. And so, yeah, then the entire rest of the movie is just this giant war fighting thing where, again, in a PG movie, they're like cutting off heads, they're stabbing dudes in the neck. This movie's insane for a kid's movie.
Line up, men!
Okay, guys, hear me out right now. And in the end, Aslan bites off the witch's head, and the army falls back, Narnia is saved, and all 4 kids are crowned as kings and queens of the land.
To the glistening eastern sea, I give you Queen Lucy, the valiant. To the great western moon, King Edmund.
They always pick last for dodgeball.
To the radiant southern side, Queen Susan.
The one who does nothing the entire movie.
To the clear northern sky, I give you King Peter.
The jawline, Mr. Tumnus, the nipple. And so after becoming kings and queens of Narnia, they hang out there for like 20 years or so. And when they're all adults, they accidentally come across that lamppost from way back when they were kids. And then, uh-oh, SpaghettiOs, what do you know? They accidentally go back through the wardrobe.
What are you all doing in the wardrobe? You wouldn't believe us if we told you so.
And that's the end of the movie. Yeah, so like I said, they do not make kids movies like this anymore. So Walden Media would go on to make movies about Prince Caspian in 2008 and Voyage of the Dawn Treader in 2010. But Disney was upset with Prince Caspian because it only made back twice its budget. What a flop, am I right? And so now Netflix apparently has rights to like the whole property. And so they're working on their own Narnia movies and TV series, set to be directed by Greta Gerwig and written... You know, people talk about, and by people I mean me, of course, but you hear a lot about how Disney is so different now than they used to be, even besides the fact that Disney movie now just means like Star Wars, Marvel, or musical kids movie. Now, I love me a good musical kids movie every now and then, okay, don't get me wrong, but if you go back to like the aughts, Disney was such a completely different company when it came to what they were putting out. I mean, like Freaky Friday, Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, Princess Diaries, Sky High, The Pacifier, and one of these was a 2007 movie called Bridge to Terabithia. To be fair, Disney only distributed this movie, but they still put their name and money behind it. Now, I've been asked to make a video about this movie for many years, so having crossed over to the new year and not much coming out right now, I figured why not check it out? I mean, come on, it's just some silly little kids movie, right? But before that, really quick, this video is brought to you by Skillshare. Well, somehow it's 2024, and like me, you probably spent a lot of time wondering how to ignore the dystopian hellscape of real life. Well, there's no better time than now to finally buckle down and learn how to do the thing you always wanted. You know, like drawing and 3D modeling, copywriting, journaling, Excel spreadsheets. And here's the thing that I'm sure a lot of you worry about, which is, where do I even start? And more than that, where do I go? I mean, sure, there's a lot of resources out there on how to learn stuff. You can learn a lot right here on YouTube, but you gotta find the right playlist or other videos in the playlist. Is this information still even accurate and relevant? Well, Skillshare has the answer to all of this with what they call learning paths. Not only does Skillshare have pretty strict guidelines to make sure the information is accurate and complete, but also they have personalized, curated paths for you to follow from very beginner levels all the way up to advanced professional skill level. So if you're learning this thing and you really want to keep going, Skillshare tells you exactly where to go. So let's say you're watching my videos and you think like, I'd like to learn how to draw or animate something. Well, here's an example for Procreate. You start off with Intro to Procreate, then you start learning about brushes and textures. You keep going with learning abstract art techniques, and then you learn how to make your own brushes. And suddenly now you're providing everything you've learned with full-on digital painting start to finish. Or if you want to get more into the animation side of things, they have a whole learning path just for that. From the very basic essentials all the way to making your own backgrounds, which would sure benefit you. See, look at that, it's all connected. So if this sounds interesting to you, guess what? The first 500 people who become Skillshare members using my link will get their first membership month completely free. You can do both of these learning paths I just mentioned completely free. You literally have nothing to lose. So click my link down below and get creative with me. I'll get back to the show. We start off with our main character, Jess, played by a tiny little baby Josh Hutcherson.
Ellie, where's your cereal bowl?
I'm not hungry.
You need to eat something.
I'm not hungry.
You need to have something before you go to school. Okay,
Do you want some jelly on? Yes, please. Watch it, Brenda. Don't mess my clothes up. Billy Baker's in my math class this year. Oh, did he flunk too?
Okay, alright, just starting right off. So Jess is just your typical farm-living 6th grader who's desperately trying to survive middle school as best he can.
Give it. Give it. Okay, that's enough.
Consider it a free lunch program, farmer boy.
Okay, hold on a second here. You're on the same bus. That means you must live in like the same general area, right? Who do you think you are? And hey, nice bangs, by the way. What'd you cut him with, a lawnmower? So the movie really wants us to know that Jess is just having like the absolute worst middle school experience, which is actually the default middle school experience.
No electronic devices. Be forewarned. If you download any essay off of the internet, it will be downloaded into detention.
Okay. All right, good one, Pete.
Beep, 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 beep. No, that is my little
Oh, that's the best you could come up with, huh?
So rudely interrupted.
Sweet sneaks, Aarons. You wear your sister's hand-me-down underwear too? He asked you a question, Twinkle Toes.
You know, this kid's gonna make a great linebacker one day. And then like around the middle of high school or so, he'll somehow be dating a girl on the varsity dance team, you know, and you're just like, nothing makes any gosh darn sense in this place. But yeah, so this is Jess's middle school life. Now, I've talked about this before in other videos, but middle school is like top 5 worst things you'll ever go through. Middle school is like the one place where all your intrusive mistake, they're gonna make fun of me forever, but like literally, actually, yes. However, today of all days, in this little town of all towns, finally something interesting happens.
Good morning, kids. Welcome back. I hope you had a great summer. Mrs. Myers, this is Leslie Burke, who will be joining your class. Leslie, welcome to Lark Creek.
Thanks.
Thank you, Principal Turner.
So this is Leslie, the new girl in school. And like, can you imagine being the new kid in middle school? I barely survived being around the same kids I went to elementary school with, but having to start over in middle school? I'd rather die, sir.
You have like...
Starting in January, you could get a refund advance loan up to $4,000 when you file with H&R Block. It's a slam dunk.
Hey, I'm doing something, okay?
Excuse me.
Got $1?
No.
Then you're gonna have to use your pants.
What's your problem?
You got that backwards, freak. You got the problem.
Ah, yes, using the classic Nestle tactics, I see. Oh, what's that? You need water to survive? Well, guess you gotta pay for it then. So later that day, there's a big foot race for some reason, and Leslie ends up winning and beating all the boys, including Jess, and apparently this race was something he's been training for like months, so he's kind of upset about it.
Jess, did you win? Hey, Jess, right?